I think, they're going to lose money if they're actually, buying Bitcoin. Now, does that mean that Bitcoin can't go up? I mean, it could, sure. I mean, if people are dumb enough to buy it, it'll go up. The problem is there's not as many dummies left to buy it. They already own it.
In today's video, Peter Schiff, founder, CEO and global strategist of Euro-Pacific Capital, gives a warning that the 2008 crisis was just the prelude to a larger sovereign debt crisis in the United States that may lead to a collapse of the US dollar.
If the Fed cannot get inflation under control, how can Powell walk this back? Because he has been so adamant to get to this 2%. How would he walk this back ever?
Well, one thing he just needs is some bigger problem in the banking sector, bigger problem in commercial real estate, some cracks in the labor market. That might give him the cover to say, oh, wait a minute, these conditions are now setting the stage for a decline in inflation. Even if we haven't seen that decline yet, he still has this Keynesian view that inflation is a byproduct of economic growth and employment. So if the Fed has a less optimistic view on the economy and realizes that the labor market is cooling, then, based on that view, the Fed would be justified in saying, look, we're just going to hold our fire for a while because, we think inflation might start coming down. Now, that's not true. Inflation's got nothing to do with those things. In fact, if anything, it's the reverse. The Fed creates inflation when it prints money, and it printed a whole lot of money over the last decade or so. And that's why we're seeing prices going up.
You're in greed right now, extreme greed. Stock market is looking at this, and some stocks actually been licking their chops. Great performance over the last few months. How long can this hold up, Peter, before we start to see some traditional finance, especially on Wall Street?
A lot of it's the AI mania, and and obviously AI looks like it is real. I mean, it has the potential to dramatically increase productivity, which is a good thing for everybody. But the way the government finances work in the short run and the way our politicians react, it actually is going to be a negative because, when companies replace their workers with AI, those workers are no longer paying taxes to the government. But the companies still get to deduct the cost of all that, equipment. But, when they're paying workers, the workers are paying payroll taxes, they're paying income taxes. They're not going to get that money anymore. And a lot of those workers are just going to stay unemployed for a while. They're going to collect more government benefits. So this means more money printing. So even though we get greater efficiencies from AI, I think that will be offset by extra inflation, by more money printing and bigger deficits. So in the short run, that's going to be a problem. And of course, the other thing with AI is when you don't need workers, you don't need as much office space. And that just makes it even worse for the commercial office sector and the banks. And so but I think some of these stocks, obviously like Nvidia, I mean, that's the go-to stock. So everybody's piling in there. But, look at Microsoft keeps hitting new all-time record highs. So, there's a narrow group of companies, but ultimately AI has to benefit all the companies that implement it, not just, a handful of tech companies. But, I don't think it's going to be a get out of jail free card for American debt. I think that we still have a day of reckoning. This doesn't, get us out of that jail because our economy can now grow so fast that we can handle all this debt. That's not going to happen. But I do think that the tech market is way overdone. I think it's going to break. I think what's interesting here for you and your Bitcoin is Bitcoin has not participated in this explosion in tech. I mean, for a long time, Bitcoin was very highly correlated with the NASDAQ and these type of stocks. But you've seen this big move up in tech, and Bitcoin has actually gone down. I mean, Bitcoin, as we're speaking, is right around 25,000, actually a little bit below the 25,000 handle. So it is ignoring all the speculative money that's flowing into tech. It's not flowing into Bitcoin. Now, some people might think, oh, okay, well, it's correlated with gold now. Well, I mean, it's like people like to say it's correlated with whatever, happens to be going up. But gold's been going sideways, and so has Bitcoin. Although Bitcoin's actually gone down, not just sideways. Gold's really gone sideways. But I think it'll be interesting to see what happens if we do get a big breakout in gold. Gold takes out 2,000, maybe 2,100, 2,200, and really starts to go. Yet Bitcoin continues to fall. And so if Bitcoin breaks its correlation with tech, and then it has no correlation with gold, then, you know, what the hell is it? Why do people own it, right? So this is going to be, I think, a big moment here for Bitcoin, you know.
I mean, if anybody's investing in this, including some of those kinds of companies, is that just diversification, or is there something else here?
I don't know. I think that's just something foolish that they'll regret. You know, I think, you know, they're going to lose money if they're actually, you know, buying Bitcoin. Now, you know, does that mean that Bitcoin can't go up? I mean, it could, sure. I mean, if people are dumb enough to buy it, it'll go up. The problem is there's not as many dummies left to buy it. They already own it. And the dummies that do own it, you know, they need the money. They want to get out. You know, I mean, money isn't free anymore.
You know, I would not say, I would say I'm not a dummy. Okay, but, and I own it. Well, okay, so that's just one thing. I won't take that as a personal offense.
It's a greater
I understand.
Here, but
I understand. All right, so here's another tweet right here. Investment giant BlackRock is close to filing an application for a Bitcoin ETF. Is that, what do you think about that? What if they were to do that? Wouldn't that show faith in the Bitcoin market?
Well, we already have Bitcoin ETFs, you know,
sure.
Outside the United States. And then you got, you know, that big grayscale thing.
It's a little different when it's BlackRock. Yeah, it's a little different when it's BlackRock.
You know, I don't see, like, maybe BlackRock thinks they can make a little money off of people's willingness to buy Bitcoin. I don't know. Okay. But, you know, these guys aren't infallible. It's not like they've never done something that was wrong. But again, if they launch a Bitcoin ETF, it doesn't necessarily mean that they believe in it. It just means that they think there are enough other people who believe in it and they want to make money off of them. It's like you can open up a casino, but not be a gambler yourself. So I don't have to go and gamble at my casino. I could just collect the winnings from everybody else who's
totally get that.
I think that I'm going to go down in history if Bitcoin succeeds as the guy that was the most wrong, because I'm the most well-known.
You're either going to be most wrong or most right.
Right, but either way, I think if I'm most wrong and Bitcoin is around in 1,000 years, you know, these ordinals, hey, Peter Schiff, I'm the original guy that didn't get it. I'm the original. I'm the old generation that held on to his goal and said it would never work. You know, I'm a very historic figure in the evolution of Bitcoin if it succeeds. I mean, because in the Bitcoin community, I am the number one Bitcoin. You know. Yeah,
no doubt. You're the Bitcoin bear for sure.
So, you know, I think it has some value. Now, even if I'm right and it crashes, well, hey, this is the guy that got it right. Hey, it could have value for that reason too. At a minimum, the prints will have value.
So you seem to be hedging it on that with just by choosing Bitcoin and ordinals over Ethereum, because you could easily win Ethereum and an NFT with a smart contract with something like this.
Yeah, so well, the reason is because I'm more well known as a Bitcoin critic, not a Ether critic, and so I thought it'd be more ironic to do it on Bitcoin when I'm just constantly knocking Bitcoin. And I thought it was funny because when I first announced this on Twitter, I tweeted it out. Everybody thought my account was hacked, which it wasn't. But a week later, it actually was hacked by somebody trying to promote a crypto scam related to gold. But there were all these stories that were written. You could see them on the internet. Peter Schiff finally converts. We've won him over. Yep. Welcome, Peter. Congratulations. They haven't won me over. But still, you know, they're waiting for my approval. Everybody in the Bitcoin community thinks that, you know, if they can only get me, they can only convince me, then that's it. I'm the last roadblock to hyper Bitcoinization, you know. So
yeah, Peter, what do you make of this? I'm sure you've been following all the hearings. We've had several of them on our show here around the digital asset space, what's happening there. You look at, and in reality, I mean, you kind of, in a way, somebody could say, well, wait a minute, are you selling an unregistered security when you look at this? Because that's something that I think a lot of people look at art already. high profile watches. There's an expectation of profit. There's not an investment contract, which is the big difference here, which is the argument that I think everybody makes.
Yeah, you're talking about a Howey test is what needs to be put on. So the expectation of profit has to come from the efforts of a person or a group of people. And so that when you buy, let's say, this painting, and you get an ordinal of painting, I don't do anything to try to make that ordinal more valuable. You don't, own a piece of a business. You just own a digital, kind of ownership verification of a physical product of a painting. Now, whether that painting goes up or down in value has nothing to do with any work that I'm going to do. I'm not promising to go out and promote that ordinal and get it to go up in value. I mean, it's just like when I sell somebody gold. Gold's not a security. It's just, I don't do anything to influence the gold market. Just because somebody buys something and expects to make money doesn't make it a security. They have to expect to make money because there are other people who are promising to do something actively to generate that profit, right?
Crypto is probably holding that up because of the value of these tokens that often could still be argued to that point. So I definitely
there
agree,
are a lot of tokens. There are a lot of tokens that would fail the Howey test and would be deemed security. So it just depends. And so if you're going to raise money to promote a business, and you're going to raise money through tokens rather than a sale of stock, you still have to, comply with the security laws. That's it. Now, and if you don't want to comply with those laws, then you've got to raise your money in jurisdictions that don't have those kind of laws, right? Like the United States. But there's over 20,000 of these tokens, and a lot of them, would be deemed securities. The question is, are they going to say Bitcoin is a security? They'd have to stretch it to claim that, but they could try to make the case. And the way I think they would try to do it is by saying that you have all these miners, that the key to Bitcoin is you have to have the miners verifying all the transactions, doing all the work. And so in a way, you're betting on the miners. The miners have to do a job. They're getting compensated in Bitcoin. And so if they can say the way this whole thing works, where you have a group of miners that are operating it and getting compensated, and they're helping to increase the value of Bitcoin by the functions that they're serving, you could try to say, they could make an argument, oh, we think that means it's a security. But if they can declare Bitcoin a security, it just makes it so much more difficult to use it because the security laws, and I owned a broker dealer for a long time. Yeah, they're very onerous.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't see that happening in any way. Of course, even to a certain extent, the SEC has already kind of validated that Bitcoin is not a security. It is.
They did in the past, but I'm telling you, these guys can change their mind.
Well, things can always change, sure, based on what we've seen coming out of DC. But I think
I don't trust the government at all.